Welcome back to the channel, guys. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Now, I know you've already seen the video title and it's a controversial one, but today we are going to delve into the three main reasons why the US, America, performs atrociously in the world of amateur boxing. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Okay guys, so I know that this video is going to ruffle a few feathers, and the truths that I'm going to share with you today, some people are not going to like it. It's going to be a hard, bitter pill to swallow. So let me just provide you with a bit of context and, some perspective so you understand where I'm coming from. Now, when we look at the great nation of America, we're looking at a country that has a population 330 million strong. In that country, 50 states. And these states are comparable to small to medium-sized countries. So for instance, when we look at the country of Cuba, it has a population of say 11 million, and it has a really good boxing culture. When we compare that to a state in America, we can look at the state of Pennsylvania. It also has, through cities like Philadelphia, a good strong boxing culture, and it has a population size of 13 million. So Pennsylvania is more comparable to Cuba than the entirety of USA to Cuba. Now, when we look at how America performs in the major world tournaments, it's not that great. And this should not be the case. It should be a country that thrives in dominance for its sheer size. So when Cuba entered the world amateur scene in the 1960s/70s, they were able to acquire 42 gold medals. America was only able to achieve 25. And this even gets worse when we look at the world championships. Over the last 20 years, Cuba has been able to acquire 20 gold medals, where America has only been able to acquire 4. America should be performing a lot better when we look at these tournaments. When we look at how much each country spends, America spends anywhere between $6 to $8 million a year on training, developing, housing, coaching salaries to the American Olympic boxing team. When we look at, say, a country like UK, they spend anything from 5 to 6 million. And then it even gets worse when we look at a country like Cuba. They spend anything from 1 to 2 million. The numbers even suggest that America should be performing a lot better than they are. Now, there's a coping mechanism that some coaches and some boxers have adopted in America. They believe that they can point to the pros to say that this is our focus, and the amateurs is not really their focus. The budget that they have in the amateurs would say otherwise. Now, the amateurs should be a stepping stone where you are also performing well to get to that stage. It shouldn't be the case that we only focus on the pros, we don't care about amateurs, but we're going to spend so much money, probably the highest budget. So let's change this idea. So let me take you through the three main reasons why the US grossly underperforms in the world of amateur boxing. Okay guys, reason number one why the US underperforms in the world of amateur boxing, and this is probably going to be the hardest and most bitter pill to swallow. The US has no boxing fundamentals, and the coaches are teaching style and not fundamentals. So guys, when we look at fundamentals of boxing, we are talking about the universal non-negotiable skills such as the boxing stance, your footwork in all different directions, your pivots, your balance, and also the 6 main punches that you must master to perform effectively. Now, this is going to be different to style, which is the more individualized and culturally influenced ways those same fundamentals are expressed and emphasized or strategically applied. Now guys, the simple litmus test for style versus fundamentals would be style is something that works for specific boxers. So your coach, the techniques that he's teaching worked for him and may not work for a large group of people. Fundamentals should be the thing that works for a large variety of boxers. So if you are a tall boxer, a short boxer, it should be something that works for a wide variety of boxers so that they all have that stepping stone to develop more advanced techniques and then eventually their style. Now, an important caveat about fundamentals is that this normally comes through a consensus of coaches. So they look at what works best for the wide populace of boxers, and then they set this as the fundamentals so that it provides the perfect stepping stone for boxers to develop into the intermediate stage and then eventually the advanced stage. You are supposed to rely on your fundamentals in most scenarios. This is why fundamentals are important. Now, a lot of you hearing this are going to say naturally styles make fights, and it doesn't matter. You know, in this state things can be done this way, in this state things can be done this way, and so on and so forth. We can have this variety. Where it becomes most problematic is when we take these individual boxers from varying states and bring them together in the national squad. If there is no unifying technique, i.e. fundamentals, then the coaches are going to be more focused on working through these problematic techniques that make the boxer good in one area but give them a disadvantage in another area. There needs to be a unifying technique, i.e. fundamentals, that all the boxers share, and then it's going to allow the national team coach to work through strategy immediately, as opposed to working through the disadvantages of certain skills and certain movements, which is always going to delay the development of the team. Okay guys, so reason number 2 why the USA underperforms in the world of amateur boxing is because they have no boxing school. So this would be, say, like the mandated structure of teaching boxing at club level through a detailed syllabus, a very specific syllabus across all ages in the country. Now guys, let me just tell you this: if you do not have a boxing school implemented at the national level in your country, it shuts down the whole conversation of whether boxing development in your country is a science. Now, it will also disable any action that proactively benefits the boxers, because you're just making things up on the spot. The analogy that I'll give you is that you wouldn't want to go to school where you're learning maths, English and science, and the teacher is just arbitrarily turning up to sessions and then teaching you things off the fly. You would want some structure, you would want some cohesion, so what you're learning today is going to flow into something that you can understand for the next lesson, and you would want the previous lesson to give you that foundation so you can understand what is being taught to you today. That is what a boxing school does. You're going to see the structure as a boxer, so this is even going to give you more focus. If things are documented, then you're going to be able to make proactive decisions to benefit your boxers down the line. This is what a school of boxing does, and this is what the Cuban powerhouse school of boxing is. It's a structured system of coaching. If we are to look at the 2004 Olympics, 13 countries hired Cuban coaches. The names of these countries that you can quote me from: Colombia, Ecuador, Brazil, Greece, Syria, India, Thailand, Pakistan, Botswana, Nigeria, Namibia, Ethiopia. All of these countries had Cuban boxing coaches in the Olympics, developing the Olympic squad. Even just the recent international tournament that was in Bulgaria, in Stronja, we had the Bulgarian national team coached by Joel Soler, Cuban boxing coach. But guys, look, that's just basics. That's nothing. Even in the last Olympics, Paris 2024, Cuba only managed to get 1 gold. That's pathetic by Cuban standards. But let's talk about the top 2 teams in that tournament: Uzbekistan and China. I think Uzbekistan managed to get 5 golds and China 2 or 3. Who ran the Olympic Uzbekistan team? Yes, a Cuban boxing coach. Yes, I know you guys didn't know that. Enrique Steiner. Go and look him up. And also China. Who ran their Olympic team? Raul Fernandez, a Cuban boxing coach. And you also have Julian Gonzalez, another Cuban boxing coach. Guys, you need to wake up. The amateurs, you need to gain success there as well. Even in Europe, I've already mentioned Bulgaria, but Spain also. Ernesto Aroche, another Cuban boxing coach taking care of the Spanish team. You also have France, Mariano Gonzalez, another Cuban boxing coach. Humberto Horta, okay, another Cuban boxing coach working for the French team. When we look at one of the most famous Cuban boxing coaches, Pedro Diaz, who works with Felix Diaz. I don't even know if Dominican Republic had a gold before, but that was one of their first gold medals in the Olympics prior to Cuba developing their system. Pedro Diaz, Dr. Pedro Diaz, who worked with, the Cuban boxing team for almost 17 years. This is what we're talking about when you always hear the Cuban powerhouse school of boxing, the structured system of coaching. The coaches know what they're doing. They are working through a system that benefits 100% the boxer. None of the coaches have ego because they didn't develop the system. You have a lot of American coaches that are trying to develop these new systems, or talking about the old school, talking about the new school. No, it's not a old school or a new school. It's nothing to do with that. It's just a school. Have a school. If you don't have a consensus amongst coaches in the time that you exist, that is the problem. Not that someone did something 20 years ago, we should talk about that. Why are you talking about it? What was the training methods that coach did with the boxer that you are somehow resembling? No, you don't know. You just know fragments of information about what that coach represented, what he said, what he did with certain boxers, but you don't have the manual that allows you to replicate what that coach did. You may even know some of the styles, but what is the training system that coach employed? That is what you don't even have today. So it's not about old school or new school, it's about having a school. That is what the US does not have. I've already shown you what the Cuban school has done for other countries. 5 gold medals in the Olympics. Anyway, that was reason number 2, guys. Okay, guys, reason number 3 why the US underperforms in the world of amateur boxing. Too many of these boxers that are coming from the US are looking at the pros and are fighting like the pros. You do not have time to download any information about your boxer in the first round, lose the first round and win the second round. You don't have time for that. You have to be proactive. It's going to make them pros in the amateurs, which is not going to result in wins. Speed is the currency of the amateurs. If your boxers are trying to fight like pros, they are going to be slow. Your sparring, your hands have to move fast, almost like when you're doing shoulder tap. So your sparring shouldn't be hard sparring all the time. It should be to accommodate for speed. It should be set aside to accommodate for conditions that you're trying to understand. And also it should be there for technical development. Okay guys, so we've come to the end of the video. I hope you've found this video informative. I know it's slightly controversial because I've said and made a few claims that some of you guys won't agree with. I'm saying that the system of coaching is what needs to be changed. Obviously, there are some coaches that are doing what they should be doing in America, and they are probably even teaching what should be the fundamentals. If you have any comments and you feel some type of way by anything that I've addressed within this video, please leave a comment below and I will respond when I can. And if you feel that this video is going to benefit someone by viewing it, please share it and hit that bell notification and subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. So guys, until my next video, I'll see you guys soon. Peace out.